Mazen Kerbaj. So hello and welcome here live at Exploratorium and also live on our new YouTube channel, the new YouTube channel of Exploratorium Berlin. My name is Matthias Maschat. I'm responsible here for the new Denkraum Improvisation. When you translate it, it's the thinking space for improvised music, thinking space improvisation. Here at Exploratorium, and this is the department for theory and research for theoretical issues around the topic of improvisation. This is the first edition today of my new series called Portrayed, and I'm very happy to have Mazen Kerbaj here as my first guest.
Thank you.
Great honor.
The honor is for me.
Yeah, Mazen is, as you will probably all know, trumpet player, visual artist, and organizer. And tonight we want to talk about him and his work with a focus rather on your work as a musician, improvising musician, and also as an organizer. Especially about the Irtijal festival, which has been co-founded by Mazen 20 years ago. Let me just give you a little bit of background. How it came about that we are sitting here together tonight. Originally, the idea was that tonight there's a concert with Fred Frith together with Tom Malmendier, Clara Weil and Anil Eraslan, but obviously this had to be cancelled due to the corona situation. And I had invited Fred Frith for tomorrow for a talk with him, so he would have been my first guest. And secondly, there was the idea, or there was the plan to have the A Trio here in May, which is one of the long-going groups of Mazen. But this also had to be cancelled. And so we had to think of an alternative also. And since Mazen and I are in good contact anyway about Irtijal at the moment, we thought to meet here for a talk tonight, which I'm very happy about. So we have just heard you playing a fantastic piece of trumpet out on the construction site of Exploratorium. How did you become a trumpet player?
Wow, that's a long and weird
story.
Weird story.
But probably an interesting story.
I thought you will start by how did you become a trumpet player on a construction site, but yeah, this was more difficult. Yeah, the thing goes back. I always have been interested in visual art and in comics. So I always knew I will become someday, or I always wanted to become a comics author. But I never dreamt or thought I could become a musician one day. I never played an instrument when I was younger. So it came really, I was around 17, 18 years old, and it was me and Sharif Sahnawi, so the co-founder of the Irtijal Festival. We were already friends before starting playing together. We used to listen to a lot of free jazz and free improv coming from Europe and the United States. First free jazz, and then we discovered improv music. Sharif was living in Paris back then. He used to send me CDs because this was totally new in Lebanon. We never heard of this thing there. And it started one night. Sharif said, I'm going to go back to guitar. He used to play in rock bands earlier. And he said, I'm going to learn guitar jazz. And I said, yeah, great. And he said, I have a trumpet. Do you want it? I said, sure. And it started really like this. So it was really more like a joke in the beginning, or like a game, like, okay, I'll take the trumpet. And then for months I played, my idol back then was Don Ayler, so I really wanted to play very, very loud and not very good maybe, but this is my thinking now of Don Ayler. But I really wanted to push, like to play free jazz and really loud free jazz, so I played, but this was really very limited. I took some courses with an old jazz musician from Beirut, Elim Nassa, but after 7 times we had to stop because he didn't understand what I wanted to play. So he was trying to teach me to play notes, and I would say, I don't want to play this, I just want you to give me some techniques for breathing, and this is what I want to play. And then when he hears what I want to play, he prefers not to teach me anything, and then that we stop it there. So I went on alone, but for a while it was really more as a game rather than seriously becoming a musician. So it took time that I think the turning point was when I began to play less loud. And this game also as a surprise. So it was my ex-wife was pregnant, and I had a day job, so I could just practice by night, and I had to practice on a volume where I don't wake her up. So I really began to practice just breathing in the trumpet and playing very, very like inaudible sounds, but for 2-3 hours. It was my getaway back then. I just come back and play music. And then when I came back to playing after a year, everything changed. Something has changed in the mouth, in the fingers, in everything. And even when I play louder or whatever, I was more in control of the thing. And I somehow understood that if I continue doing it, I can really become a musician.
That's a really interesting point, I think. I mean, when I understand you right, you kind of developed a really quiet playing technique on your own. Mm-hmm. You didn't really know of the developments from Vienna, from Berlin, from Tokyo with the silent music?
No, not yet. But I remember the first person who I saw and I liked playing something else than European improv from the first generation, so different from Evan Parker or Peter Brodsman or this kind, or Ernst Ludwig Petrovsky or all the German and the English scenes. It was Michel Doneda playing saxophone, and for 10 minutes I was like, he was playing with Eric M. and Jean-Marc Montera. It was in Mulhouse Festival. So I was thinking, okay, it's nice, but what is the sax player doing? Like, why isn't he playing? And then for 10 minutes he was playing, but really granular, like really strange sound. And it took me time to understand it's him doing this sound. It's not of one of the other electronic players. And this was exactly where I discovered that you could play differently. So differently from high energy playing, because of course Peter Brodsman is high energy, but also let's say Evan Parker is high energy also, but in a very different way. Maybe Doneda is also high energy when you think of it, but it was really bringing it to a textural level. So it was really textures that were played. And this changed a lot my perception. Then the first time I saw Axel Dörner, I was really, this was 2 years later, also in Mulhouse. And by that time I stopped trumpet. I was playing only saxophone I hated trumpet because it has only 3, the sax player could do so many things. So the trumpet was so austere, and then the sound would come only from one side, while the sax was really like blossoming everywhere. And so I went for tenor and soprano sax and stopped the trumpet or played very little. And it's when I saw Axel playing, I discovered, also this textural thing are possible on trumpet. So I went back little by little, and then all my techniques from the sax, I managed to move them to the trumpet and to abandon the sax altogether. When I arrived, I was a pretty bad sax player, I have to say, so it's good for me and for the world that I stopped and came back to this. But then many, like at least the mouthpieces, I kept them, and I play a lot with sax mouthpieces and with tubes on the trumpet, and I make it sound like a lot like reeds many times. But yeah, I was pretty not aware of what was done specifically on trumpet, because I think trumpet was, for the longest period in improv, trumpet was not an instrument on the map. So there was maybe Bill Dixon in America, and then in Europe there was probably nobody. I mean, our old heroes are all trombone players, so I would say Paul Rutherford or the Bauer brothers, or all kind of, or Albert Mangelsdorf before, but trumpet has never been prominent until the arrival of Axel and Franz Hautzinger and Greg Kelly in the States. This I discovered I was already playing trumpet, so I was really very happy to discover that trumpet is getting back on the scene. Nowadays I think there are a lot of trumpet players, much more. It became really a trend somehow. And funnily enough, all what I hated in the trumpet makes what I do today. So the fact that it is really directional, it it's totally convenient for what I do with it. It's actually I couldn't do what I do with a sax, so I needed really to go from one side and then to block the bell, etc., and to play it more percussively. So it took me time to discover that it was perfectly suited for me. Also on the ground of preparing the instrument, I was quite jealous of Sharif, who has a guitar, and of course he put screwdrivers and stuff, and then he can prepare the guitar, or of course piano players or other instruments, bass players. And I was always very sad, like a trumpet is really not preparable. And of course, when you see what I do with it today, it's totally suitable.
So you were actually searching for methods of changing the sound of the trumpet with preparations and with extended techniques.
Yes. I was trying to find my own language, and my own language had to pass by something. Somehow it looks playful, but for me it was like really a research. So it took very, very long time to arrive to somewhere where it became a language. In the beginning, it was lacking grammar. It was only vocabulary. It was only sounds. Okay, it's nice sounds, but it took long time to make it play how I want or how I can, how I can make it play. So I brought the trumpet to me, and it was really a process for 5-7 years until I began to have something that resembles what I do today.
But you also developed some of those techniques on the saxophone before. So I saw very old footage from you playing the saxophone.
Badly, yeah.
No, actually, in this film from 2000, the first concert in Lebanon or in the Arab world, you say, you were actually playing saxophone, also with a tube like you do it today with the trumpet, or since quite some time on the trumpet. But the sound was not listenable.
Yes.
So it's only the picture.
It looked nice. Yeah. It looked as nice as today.
Good, but I was not. Yeah, it was not possible to see the. To hear the sound.
Thing is like of course it could just take the sax way lower, so it sounded really like a bass clarinet. But again, like what I do with the trumpet is really. I always like to quote Cecil Taylor saying for him the piano is a percussive instrument. So for me it's the same with the trumpet. Most of what I do is rhythmical and percussive on the trumpet, which normally doesn't fit the instrument. But this is only possible because when I blow in it, and especially when I have the bell turning up, I can put all kinds of things that vibrate. And with a saxophone, you have to really close. Like if you do this, you really have your hands closing all the holes to be able to get the air from there. So while all my work is with the hands, so I make something vibrate and then add things. I think my conception or my idea of playing it is liberating the two hands, so I have it between my legs and I could roll a cigarette. Like I always also hated this guitar player who smoke a cigarette and then play and then put it up. So. Well, I never did it in a trumpet, but the idea of having your two hands really free to not only play the valves or hold the trumpet, but to really add sheets of sound or layers of sound. And I think in my music it's quite clear, and in the music of the art trio, my two other Lebanese companions, Raed Yassin and Sharif Sahnawi, the three of us play a lot in this idea of having one sound going like really horizontal going, and then adding another sound, then a third sound while playing in solo, of course. So you have these three layers of sound, and then remove the one from down, keep these two, add one, and for this I really need to be not only blowing but doing many other not mechanical. I mean, maybe mechanical sometimes with fans and stuff, but mostly with my hands, like a percussion player.
So you were mentioning the art trio already. Can you tell us the story of the art trio? This is one of the really long-going groups of you, kind of the beginning, not really the beginning, but.
Yeah, it came really early. I mean, in the beginning we started, it was really, we were really three persons playing this music in Beirut. So it was Sharif Sahnawi, Christine Abdelnour, the sax player, who was Sharif's companion back then, and myself. So we started the festival and we played this first gig, and then we played for a year and a half. But Sharif and Christine were both living in Paris, so I was alone in Lebanon playing this music. for better and worse, mostly for worse, because people after gigs would really want to kill me. Like it was really, some people would stay just to tell me this was really bad, don't do it again, etc. So I was really not finding anybody, and this is where also I developed a lot my work in solo, because there was no other person to improvise with. And also it gave
how long did this go?
maybe for 2 years until I met Raed there. So these 2 years, it was also good for me to understand how much I'm getting better, because I would play with Sharif and then he would leave for 6 months, and then when he would come back and we play together, I remember once, like it took us time, but once we played for an hour and then we said, wow, it was like a CD, like listening to a CD. So it was finally arriving somewhere where it was not anymore just having fun and playing, but really becoming more aware of what's happening and how to answer, etc. So it was the premises of what came later. But Sharif was my best companion for this. We would play with Christine, also the three of us. But me and Sharif have a duo since whenever we started playing. And then one day I record this. There is this compilation of new music from Lebanon, so alternative music from Lebanon. It was a CD shop, alternative CD shop, that was doing it to give it to his clients, and it was all kind of things. So a rock piece, a techno piece, a hip hop, and then he asked me, because I used to buy a lot of CDs. He said, "You play trumpet? Do you want to do a piece?" I said, "Sure." So I went, I recorded this 5-minute piece, and I remember the studio guy said, nobody ever played trumpet like this. He wasn't happy about it, but he just said it. I said, yeah, you know, there are people in Europe. He said, not in my studio. I said, okay, great. But then it goes on this CD, and it was the last piece. And many people gave back the CD and say, can you give me another copy, because the last piece is, there is a problem with it, doesn't work. And then he would say, no, it's really... And many people would ask me, I was a little bit known already in Beirut for my comics. So I remember a teacher who came for a book signing and said, there is another Mazen Kerbaj who plays music and it's awful. I said, it's me, you know, and I have to say, yeah. So I was always like, apologizing for this piece. Each time I meet somebody, he would tell me like, it's you, why did you do this? And including my own mom back then. And one day I'm at this same shop, I buy some CDs and I'm going to pay, and then the guy behind the counter say, are you Mazen Kerbaj? I say, yes. He say, are you the guy who did trumpet, this trumpet piece? I say, yeah, again, you know, I said, yeah, it's me. He said, I'm Raed Yassin, I want to play music with you. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, I play double bass, I come from classic contemporary, and I'd really like to try to play with you. And then I played with him, and I called Sharif. I said, you don't believe, I found another guy in Lebanon, you know, who plays this music. And as soon as Sharif arrived, we just went into studio, and I said to both of them, we should form this trio. And it just formed on paper, like they never met, both of them, and it just worked. We went to studio from the first time, and it's an old album. It's very bad for our ears today, but it was there. I mean, like the alchemy between the three was already there, and from then on, we really played so much together and influenced each other so much in our playing that it became really. It's really a trio that I have no other example of any other group I play with that resemble it. Mm-hmm. It really works. It works alone somehow. So
you kind of got famous already with this first piece on this.
Yes, infamous or famous. Yeah. You it depends from where you stand.
And did you ever think of running away and going to Paris as well? Or, I mean, when you haven't found anybody to play and anybody who liked the music for 2 years, that's quite some time to get frustrated about it, no?
Yes and no. Yes, for sure, because since I'm born, I was thinking, especially that I want to do comics also, and comics are not really, it's not paradise for comics also, I mean, in Lebanon. And also we grew up in civil war and everything, so all my generation was always thinking, when I'm 18 years, I study outside, I never come back, etc. Back then, many things made me stay. One of them was not, and not the least, was that we needed somebody to stay in Lebanon. If we go, the three of us, and just don't do a festival in Lebanon and don't start this thing, nobody will start it. And somehow it's not like, it's not idealism or whatever, but it was just like, if we want one day to see good concerts here, we have to start something and to bring people. And if we want to make a scene, we have to be there. We cannot just go from play in Paris and then come as tourists to Lebanon. So it was a kind of I hate to say a responsibility or something, because none of us was like this. We're really very young. We didn't really care, but somehow we felt this. And I remember a discussion with Sharif where he was saying, when you come to Paris, I will have to go to, like, one of us has to stay there, to just keep. And for the longest period, I mean, until Sharif came back, until 2006, I was the figure of improv, so I was the one getting all the insults and a little bit of praise sometimes. But Sharif was really behind it. I mean, of course, I would have never done anything besides the fact that he gave me the trumpet anyway. But he was really the driving force behind it, and he was really pushing for playing with other people, etc. And they would both come every maybe 3 times a year, and then we would play, we would make some concerts, etc.
So that was the dream really for quite some time, to build a scene and to also organize concerts and even a festival for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a dream, not even a dream, because we didn't believe in it. Like, we were doing it really for ourselves. It was more like affirming ourselves, like an affirmation of what we do, and we were really very aggressive somehow. So we would not accept any criticism, because it was the only way to answer back all this aggressivity coming towards us. I think our music was not good, really. Like, I'm not trying to be modest. It was really pretty bad, actually. But at least it was the intention of doing this thing and of opening doors to things to come. And then we remained, we continued, we played, and then little by little, we were the first people surprised to see how many people began to come to the festival. So the festival was 1 day in the beginning. Now it's sometimes 5 days, and you have more than 1,000 people coming. And Beirut is 1 million, maybe 1.5 million people. So it's really a very small city. And somehow we were always saying, people will hate it all the time. They will never have any audience or any. And now there is a scene. There are people playing this music, and there are people knowing about this music more than us. So they would say, when are you bringing Evan Parker? You never brought him, or etc. And they know about the scene. And little by little, we opened also. In the beginning, we were really hardcore improv music. So the festival opened to be more an experimental music festival in all. It goes from contemporary rock and contemporary music to improv, free jazz, etc., alternative things. Somehow everything that could not be played in another festival in Beirut. So we are open to all kind of. Also, as a scene, because Lebanon is so small, you cannot be like in Berlin. You have. I mean, now it's a little bit better, I think, than the beginning of 2000 in Berlin, where you have really improv and free jazz and contemporary classic, and then in improv you have the reductionism, and then you have the people who play more busy, and so it's really schools. And it's viable, because, I mean, the reductionists are already like 20 musicians, let's say, and then there is an audience. And for us, it's like all in all, we are maybe 10 musicians you can play with, and one is a punk rocker, the other is electronic experimenter, etc.
So you have to join forces.
You have to join forces, and it forces you to not to change your playing, because I wouldn't do this. I mean, I don't feel like doing this to adapt, but really to find common ground. Where can I play with a guitar hero playing? Where can I place the sounds I do? And I think it was a very good school for all of us.
And then in the beginning, you were already thinking of inviting a lot of people from the improvising music scene also to Beirut. This was also an intention from the beginning. Kind of, yeah.
I think it was very important from the beginning for us and for the audience somehow to show what this music, because for us, like, we were audience before becoming musicians, and we were hardcore audience. And me specifically, I listened to this music for maybe 3 years without ever seeing a concert live. So usually they always say, this music you have to see it live, otherwise it's difficult to grasp. And for me, I don't know how it happened, but I just passed from free jazz to improv, and I really loved this thing. And I would say, I would see a disc with 2 trombone and 2 guitar, and I listened, there is no sound of trombone or of guitar, and I would just imagine, I didn't even know what they could be doing, like how they are playing their instrument. But just the music for itself interested me, and when I began to discover live concerts, Like I would go visit Sharif and we go to concert. I usually close my eyes because I feel there's too much information, you know, I just want to hear the thing. But in the same time, we wanted to bring this music because in a way it give a kind of legitimacy to what we are doing, especially if you bring people who are way older than us. Like if you bring somebody like Brodsman, for instance, he was over 60 already. It gives it another look, if you want, than to bring other people who are in their early 20s, hippie looking and really aggressive, etc. So this was one thing. The other thing was for us to see music, to see other concerts, to be able to see and hear other people playing. And the third and most important thing is to make these people play together and to push ourselves to play with people who are professional, if you want, professional improvisers who play this music for a long time. So I remember the first time we played with Sharif and Christine a quartet with Lekwanin, the percussionist. We were really like not believing we are doing it and really very scared, like what the fuck are we doing? We cannot play with Lekwanin, you know, he's a fantastic musician. And I remember this specific moment because I remember this was the first time we played, and then at the end we were so relieved, like, oh, none of us fucked the concert. It worked, you know, like maybe also it wasn't the best concert we did, but we managed to play a whole concert without like really something outrageously bad or something. And back then, I think we were still in the beginning and still playing, you know, in improv, it takes time to understand that you cannot only play with somebody, but you could play against, or you can play without, or over, etc. So these things take a lot of time, or not play like we are all playing on a low volumes and somebody goes to a high volume and then you go with him. Actually, no, this takes a lot of time for an improviser to begin to understand that you're not supposed to always play together. Also, it takes time to understand that you're not meant to play, what I call it is to hide behind other people. So to just play with the thing and not making anything wrong, but never proposing something new. So these things really, I think an improviser is always learning how to play. And back then, I guess we just managed to play with Lekwan without doing something catastrophic, you know. But it was a big lesson also, and little by little, bringing people and playing with them was very important for the whole scene. And mixing other musicians from the scene, putting them together, and see how it goes. Doing workshops. So Axel Dörner gave a workshop, Hans Koch, Michael Zerang, Gene Coleman, many musicians came, Jason Kahn would come and give workshop to the 10 or 15 musicians that were interested in it. So we were sure that without a festival and without the presence of other musicians, we cannot form a scene, because we have to educate ourselves and educate the audience somehow. So this was clear for us, but we were not betting one penny that it will work. We were just doing it and believing in it, but not expecting much.
So you also say there's an importance in these workshops, for example, which are quite common in improvised music.
Yes, I think it's the only way, I think, that you could not learn, but you can begin to improvise. Workshop with improvisers, of course. And for me, I mean, I gave my first workshop maybe 5 years ago, so 15 years after beginning to play, or even 20 years after. And even giving a workshop, I was very scared and I had apprehension, because it's not easy to. But I remembered all these workshops that I got before, and it's really interesting how a workshop with an improviser is like 180-degree different from another workshop with another improviser. Sometimes both of them play together, you know. But then you go do the workshop with Axel, and it's radically different than the one with Michael Zerang, you know, or etc. And then it's really more apprenticeship rather than learning. So it's really being in a laboratory together, and then unleashing the potential of everybody and giving just small exercise, etc. And this helped a lot. For me, it helped me a lot, and I know it helped a lot of musicians. And usually we did always a concert at the end, a concert of the workshop. So it also made many musicians play their first improv gig ever, to go on stage and play an improv gig because of these workshops.
You were mentioning Axel Dörner now, and the other trumpet player is Franz Hautzinger, who you've been working with a lot, also a lot of duos.
Yes.
When did you meet?
Franz was I'm glad to say this story because it's really a crazy story. I never told in public. It was really a very weird meeting. So I was still working in advertising company, still living alone alone meaning without Sharif and Christine. So still being the only players there. And Sharif and Christine would always tell me, "Yeah, this week we saw Fred Van Hoof solo. This week we saw Anthony Braxton." And then I would go, like fuck. And then one day we are in this brainstorming session in this advertising company, and then one of the guys there say, "Hey, there is this Palestinian musician coming to play, a folk musician. Are you going to see him? Marwan Abado." I said, no, I'm not into this thing. And then he left the flyer open. And then I take it while, brainstorming. I see Marwan Abado, Peter Rosmanit, and Franz Hautzinger, trumpet. I say, Franz Hautzinger, incredible. Like, I know this name. It's this trumpet player. I had a disc of him. I say it cannot be the same, but yes, trumpet. And it was back then, like really beginning of internet. We're talking 2001 or 2, and we weren't that. You wouldn't find anything, everything on internet. Still, I go there and I begin to search, and I find that he is from Vienna, Franz Hautzinger, the trumpet player. And I see that the Palestinian musician come from Austria. He lives in Austria, so I say it cannot be, I buy myself a ticket, I go, it was outside of Beirut, like really very far, and I'm in this big room with 400 hardcore fans of the Palestinian folk singer. They were singing with him all along, and I was waiting until the end, and at some point Franz, who plays quarter-tone trumpet, so he plays Arabic melodies on it. At some point he does a solo, but only with air, like psh, 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 but on the quarter tone. And I say, it cannot be, it's him, So at the end, everybody wants to see Marwan Abado. They go on stage, and then I find somebody from the crew. I say, can you go call the trumpet player, the blonde guy, tell him there's a guy waiting for him. They go, and Franz always says the story like he said, me? Like, somebody wants to see me. He said, yeah. He said, I know nobody here. Yes, please. And then he comes out, and then I'm very excited, and I try to explain to him, yes, I play also trumpet, improv, and then he's saying, yeah. And then I begin to talk after like 5-10 minutes. I say, yeah, we have a festival. We brought Konrad Bauer, Johannes Bauer, and Fred Van Hoof last year. And he said, Johannes Bauer? I said, yes. He said, you mean improv music? I said, it's been 10 minutes, I'm telling you, I play this music, So he was as surprised as me. And then he said, like, I'm really bored with Marwan here. He has all his friends taking him to things very official and stuff. So if you have nothing to do, let's hang out. I said, sure, my pleasure. And then for 2-3 days, I would always finish work, take him from the hotel, and go hang out, listen to music. And I didn't dare to ask him to play music, I was like, the first time I said, yeah, we could play together. But then, of course, like, I was really, and the last day he said, maybe tomorrow I can bring my trumpet and we can play together. I said, it would be great, super. And so he came and we recorded, we played together, and I remember him telling me, wow, it was like playing with myself. And I really, like, it was for me a big compliment. And it was the first time and the only time I ever recorded with Franz on a mini disc where he's not playing with microphone. So he's not playing, because he plays a lot with close miking, and usually we play both amplified. I never heard this thing again, but I have this very nice document of the first time we... and then, of course, like, I proposed to him once to play in Instant Chavirez, and he took me for my first ever tour outside of Lebanon with Sharif also. And since then, we are really very close with Franz.
That's really a beautiful story.
Yes.
Where should we continue? Which other groups would you mention as your really important colleagues?
Well, many groups. One group of improv is one that I formed here in Berlin. So when I moved in Berlin to Berlin in 2015, I had a residency for 1 year to come, and before coming, I decided I would like to have a group that I work with, like the A Trio. So I was saying, okay, I come to Berlin, I have many friends and many collaborators. I know Axel, I knew Ute, I know Ute Wasserman, Magda Mayas, Tony Buck. I knew many musicians to play with, but I wanted also a group. So I formed two groups actually on paper. One of them is with Magda Mayas and Tony Buck, and I asked Magda, I would like to have a double bass. The idea was to have a classic jazz quartet, but to play really textural music. She proposed many double basses, and the name of Mike Maikowski came between them, and I knew his work, and I said, yeah, for sure, Mike, let's do it with Mike. And this group called Das B is a working group that I like a lot. And the other one is South Out with Michael Vorfeld and Burkhard Beins. I always dreamt to have a group with a drummer or a percussionist, because there is no drummer or percussionist in the Lebanese scene. So we always say maybe this is why me and Sharif and Raed, the three of us, play very percussive on our instrument, is because of the lack of a proper. I saw once Michael and Burkhard playing together in Tarek Atwe project. They were playing traditional instrument, but then I really thought about it. It would work, and then I proposed to them to make a percussion trio. And I precise that I'm playing trumpet. Don't worry, like I'm not moving to percussion, but then it's a percussion trio. And I was invited by Labor Sonore to curate one night, because I was in the DAD and they had this collaboration together. So I curated one night and I put this trio in it. And since the first time we played, it was clear that it's really a trio. It's a group. And since then, each time we play, it's really a very, very interesting group of improv. It really goes each time in a very different way, and it has. One friend said, like, I'm used to improv a lot, but this group really works as if it was one brain deciding all the time for the three of you what to do, and I really feel this thing with them. Even a bad concert with this trio is already very good, I feel. So I really like playing with them. And next week we are going to record our second studio concert. But it's really a group to see live. It really goes in every direction. And other groups I like a lot are things like Karkhana, which is a group that is very different from the improv I do. So it's a group, it's with Sam Shalabi on guitar from Canada, Sharif Sahnawi on guitar, both electric guitar. Sam plays oud also, the Arabic lute. Michael Zerang on drums, Maurice Lukav, who plays electronics and keyboard, Tony Ali on electric bass, and Umut Jaglar on flutes and small percussion. And this group really plays a real weird mixture of free improv, not improv, free jazz maybe, and rock, free rock, Middle Eastern music, because many of us come from the Middle East. It really blends together so many different genres and makes it its own. Like the group has really clear sound and clear identity, and in the same time, when you say all these genres and say mixed together, it sounds like really a bad world music group, but it's not. It really works. I'm usually very skeptical when you put this kind of thing and try to put two genres or three genres or more together. It usually ends up being a soup that pleases some radio stations. But in this case, we did already 4 albums. 4 albums. 2 of them are live ones, and we were meant to play in Alarm Festival last year. It didn't work, and this year we were programmed, but it got cancelled. So hopefully next year we play in Berlin with this group.
So you had the stipend in Berlin
Yes.
from the DAAD, the Berliner Künstlerprogramm. What made you stay in the end after that? After you stayed in Beirut for such a long time?
Well, to put it short, I stayed in Beirut 40 years. So my first 40 years, then I got the stipendium. I said, let's try 40 years in Berlin, and then then we see what happens. But more seriously, I have 3 kids, and it was very difficult to leave Beirut anyway. So I never, after the beginning when I was young, I wanted to leave. But then, of course, I had kids, and all my work was there, and I love Beirut. and I hate it. So it's really strange relationship. But I never thought of leaving because it was impossible. So this came really as a great opportunity where they are giving me a house and some money for 1 year and helping me finding schools for the kids, etc. So it made it possible at some point to try 1 year and see what happens. And then we came here. On the one hand, of course, the kids were happy, and my wife and me were very happy to have them outside of Lebanon and see something else. But also, life here was cheaper than Beirut, believe it or not. So even on the financial level, it was better here. And of course, for me as a musician, as an artist, actually, it's great to just change your habits. I think not only moving to Berlin, but moving anywhere and adapting to a new city and creating new habits. It's very good for your art, I think, anyway. But being in Berlin as a musician of improv was really the place to be. Like I would say Berlin today is like New York, maybe in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It's really the place where you have so much musicians, so much venues, no money at all, but but at least you can play with so many great musicians, and you can go see so many good concerts. In Beirut, you have this festival we do, and then some concerts we do all over the years. If you play 3 concerts a year, at the 3rd concert, somebody would come and say, "Come on, man, you played already 3 times this year. You're not going to play, every month." And in Beirut, in Berlin, I really play sometimes 7 or 10 gigs, door gigs, of course, but still playing 10 gigs in a city and having audience each time is really amazing. And also having private sessions with so much great musician. I cannot, like before coming, I was making a list of musicians I would like to play with for the DAD when I was filling my application. And after 20, I stopped. It was 20 great musicians I would dream to play with, And then I said, okay, I have to stop at some point, And there are more coming.
Did you manage to play with all of them in this 1 year?
Yes, I think yes. Yeah, I played. I was really happy to see how also... maybe I was lucky because I always say it's great, it's so welcoming, and then I talk with younger musicians who move to Berlin. They say it's very difficult the first years, to begin to play with other people. There are so many people, it's so competitive, etc. Maybe I was lucky because I was already playing with many musicians, so I was already known or I knew some musicians. So I came, I wasn't really a total stranger. And of course, with the DAD, it's even better because they put you under the spot. Like you have some good concert. We played this concert with AMM and Atrio, which made a lot of publicity or whatever. So I came really from the big door, which was great. But still, this competitivity in Berlin, I like it too because I feel in places like small, like Beirut or Italy, for instance. I talked with Italian friends. They have the same because the scene is very small. It's the competitivity. The competition is really more a jealous one or a nasty one. Like, why did he get this gig? I should have got it. I'm better, and he knows whoever. Here I go and I see a concert and I say, wow, this guy is great. I should go and train, it's really an emulation that I feel, and you see so much good things that it pushes you to go further with what you do. Now again, I'm talking, I've been for 5 years here. Maybe in 10 years I'll be fed up with this thing and I'll find it awful. But I'm still, I think after 5 years, Berlin is still a novelty for me, and it's still giving me a lot of... It's feeding me back a lot.
So it was the DAD who arranged the concert with AMM.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic recording. I didn't see the concert, but the recording is really good.
Thank you. It was.
How did it come about?
It was an idea we had from long time. AMM is for us, or for me at least, I think for Sharif and Raed also, in the things we heard over the years. Since we were really like maniacs about this music, we would really buy all we could find, or each one who knows somebody's traveling, like just go and buy me anything from Evan Parker's. They say, what? I said anything, or from AMM, etc. And AMM always stood up as a group and still stands up as a group that is that really encompasses everything we like about improv. It's very open and it works really. I feel a lot of influence on our playing and on our thinking about improv and about the radical way of doing improv and of trying to be always as open as possible and trying to avoid having a language or having a language but not become prisoner of it. Always try to go out and come back in, etc. So AMM has always been very important for us, and with the Atrio we do collaborations. We like this idea of doing collaborations with other musicians. Some of these collaborations are really with, like one of them is with Alan Bishop, the folk singer from Sun City Girls. A fantastic guy. We love his music. We love the guy. We played with him. We recorded an album. It really sounds very folky, but it's really Atrio. So we never go and try to play folky. We just do our sounds and then we incorporate them in some way. We also recorded with Scrambled Eggs, which is a punk rock trio from Beirut. And also it was very interesting to have three punk rock band in one side of the studio with a wall, because we were with our acoustic instruments. And then it sounds really very interesting also. So we wanted to play with improv players. And one group we wanted to play with, it was a while, both groups want to play together, is the Nex, so from Australia. We played a lot with Tony Buck, who played with the Atrio, but we saw the trio in Nickelsdorf Festival. Both trio were playing there, and we talked a lot about possible collaboration. And this was our idea for the DAAD concert, but then the Nex couldn't. We ended up doing it in Mers Music 2 years ago. We played the 4 hours concert, the Next and Atrio, that hopefully, if we manage to listen to it one day, because it's very long, it will get out. Actually, we listened, it sounds great, but it needs mixing, etc. So anyway, the AMM was an idea and a dream we have since long time, and we had already played. I played with Eddie Prevost twice in different things in London, and Eddie is a great person, and this helps a lot in our music to get along with the person you play with. So we talked already about possible collaboration. Raed had played with John Tilbury, and Sharif had played with Eddie Prevost. So there was a vague idea. But then we said, okay, this is because it's very difficult to play with AMM. It has to be, of course, planned way ahead, and this was already way ahead, so it was good. But also you need the money and everything to bring them, and we cannot invite them to a door gig, you know. It has to be more official. So I talked with Julia Gerlach, who was back then the director of the music department in DAAD, and she was putting this micro music festival together. And she loved the idea, and then from there she took it over, and she talked with them, and what you hear is not the concert actually. It's good to say on the CD. So they had to come one day before, and just to make the sound check in this big church. And the day of the concert, it was decided they would play 20 to 30 minutes. We would play 20 to 30 minutes, and then we would play together as a sextet 20 to 30 minutes. So I said, it's impossible, we do this and we don't record, it would be crazy. So I said, we want the sound check before, and we want everything ready one night before. And then Eddie Prevost said, no, we cannot come for a rehearsal. I do not do rehearsal. So it was the general message. I had to send him an email. Eddie, it's trick, you know, it's not a rehearsal. It's just to record, you know, to have, it's not for rehearsing, just to do long improvisation. And if ever we want to release it, we have something lengthier. And then it's this hour of music that was, the second day is great, but it's 25 minutes. So actually it's great, but it's not as good as this very long, because both Atrio and AMM like this very long improvisation.
Now we've been talking a lot about your music. I don't really want to open a new pot, but I'm interested in if there's a relation between the way of your painting and the way of your music making.
For the longest period, I used to say no, there is not. Like it's really too, and I usually never sell my books after my gigs or my CDs at my book signing, and books being comic books. I usually compartmented them and really separate them, and the only way they would join is when I do covers for albums. So I do the covers for most of my albums and for some friends and for our label. We have a label in Beirut. But with time, I think there's a lot of indirect links. I think there is of course, or at least this is my idea. I think I do both of them with a certain kind of radicality and of experimentation. I try to be with both as surprising for myself as possible. I think I managed to do it more in music than in comics, but this is how things are. Lately, lately, 10 years ago, I began to also perform with drawing, and this is where they both joined. So I developed a way to draw live while avoiding drawing. So it's not like I start on a white paper and then you see me and then the drawing is finished, then I start a new one, etc. So I play with Sharif mostly, or with other people sometimes, but we have this project with Sharif called Wormholes. It's a total improvisation. He's on his guitar and I have this setup where I put ink and solvents, and they are somehow alive, like they make. It's really in movement all the time, and it never materializes it's never finished. It's like the music. It exists really in this second. A second later, it's different, etc. And at any point, I can wipe it, like Sharif could just mute his guitar by putting his hands on the strings. So it's really a setup that permits to make drawings like the music is made, like to make really a live video. And of course, it's projected on a screen. So the only technical thing is this camera and projection, but all the rest is really made, it's totally analog, if you can say. So it's really only based on inks and solvents and sprays and stuff. I like a lot this idea because drawings and music are really very different practices from my point of view, or from any point of view. Drawing being something very solitary usually, that you do alone. You do it for a very long time. Let's say comics, it takes you 1 year, and then 1 year later it's over for you. You are somewhere else, and then it's 1 year later then people read it, or half a year later. So between the moment that you are creating the thing and the moment where the audience receives it, it's really, there's a gap, and when they receive it, for me it's dead. It doesn't exist anymore. I'm in something else, etc. While music is so direct and so in the moment, especially improv music and especially live music, that you cannot, it only exists, I share, if you want, with the audience, the process and the result. While with, of course, with any other art, you share only the result. So they see the result, they never see the process unless you do a making of or whatever, but still it's not the process of... So with this system, I liked a lot the idea of being able to show the process and the result together. And I usually always say that I'm more interested anyway in the process than in the result, because for me, what is interesting in my practice is the process. The result is accessory. Of course, I'm glad if I do a nice drawing, or if I like it, or if I'm surprised at the end. But for me, the most rewarding moment is when I'm doing it. And in this sense, music is a fantastic form of art. I think it's the only one like this, where you share with people the way of doing it and the result is the same time. I think for this and for another reason, it's a superior and inferior art in the same time. The other reason being that it's totally abstract and it cannot be concrete. Unless you are singing or unless you are doing music concrète. I like this thing in music where you cannot pass a message, even if you want. So, of course, there are small exceptions. I can think of my own work with this Starry Night in the war in 2006.
This is actually the first piece that I have ever heard from you.
All right. Yes, this made me quite famous, I have to admit, for the wrong reasons, but... Yeah, I think Sharif was telling me this is the piece that most people, you will never get more audience than this piece. So this piece...
Do you want to tell the story?
Yes, maybe, of course, for those who don't know. So Starry Night is this piece I recorded while Beirut was bombed by the Israeli Air Force in 2006. There was this 33 days war. It was really heavy war, heavy bombing every day. I had a blog and I was drawing a lot. And at some point I said, okay, you are drawing, but you should record some music, you should play music. So I recorded and played a lot, but mostly I did this Starry Night is 6-minute excerpts where each time I would hear the planes coming, I would go on the balcony and put the mini disc and then record music with them. Of course, like we can talk for hours about this thing, but just to make it short, because it's really not a normal concert or a normal recording. It was very important for me to do this thing, and when I was outside, I always say I'm no hero. I'm not. It's not like I'm really very strong and I can resist this. But it was for me better than being inside, being in the action, playing, listening to a sound, and trying to think it's a sound, and then answer to it with another sound was easier than just being scared and inside. And I think this is a chance that artists have in extraordinary times or in catastrophes or stuff like this. They could still work or still express themselves. So yes, this piece, to go back to this abstract thing, this piece of course is not abstract anymore, and it has a message, etc. Whatever the message you want to take out of it, it becomes at least musique concrète and at best sonic journalism, as some people adopt it. But again, when I'm doing it, I'm not thinking. I'm just there and trying to resist the moment and resist the insanity of the moment and trying to answer in my own way. And it would drive me crazy also that I would ask myself if it is a good recording or not, listening after, choosing the excerpt. I said, no, this is not good. And just asking yourself this kind of question in this kind of moment where, I'm breathing here, but then the bomb that you hear killed some people, most probably. So you are angry at yourself, but at the same time, you cannot but look at your work as the creator of the work, and then what should be done, what should be changed, and it's really strange, very strange moment in my life.
Yeah, I can imagine it, and it really touches you when you listen to it. Living in a safe country, more or less, it really touches you when you hear it. Maybe you could. Since we have started to talk about this topic, people claimed maybe that there's the influence from the Civil War hearable in your music and so on. And I read that you had a quite good statement about it. I mean, it's a projection, more or less. And you said if you listen to other people who have not experienced the war, you would not have this projection.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. I think there is a prejudice, which is totally normal. I mean, I'm not criticizing, but many times after a gig, I receive people telling me, yeah, it's great how it reminds the war in Beirut and these helicopters, and then of course I say first that there are no helicopters in Beirut. It was mostly with tanks and jeeps. But the other thing is, of course, like Axel or Franz or so many other trumpet players play similar sounds. And when you hear Franz Hautzinger doing it, you go to him, you say, "Oh, it reminds me of a dentist or of a truck," or the images are different. But this is inherent to two things. Of course, first of all, is the music we play has this great thing where people who hear it just imagine whatever they want, and many times after gigs you have somebody who comes and tells you what he saw when I saw big forest and there were animals, and say, wow, great. and then another person saw really radically something different, and I really like this idea of imagining of having a cinema for the ears somehow, and imagining things. So this is one thing. The other thing, and this thing, of course, I think is because this music lacks of rhythm and of harmony and of melodies and of things we know how to interpret, or we are formatted to interpret. So then you have to create images for yourself to make sense out of it, or at least when you are not really used to listen to the sound for what it is only. So the beginning, it's always passing by images. You have to see things. From there, of course, if you know that I'm from Beirut, the jump is very easy to do and to extrapolate and to say, okay, these are the sounds of war. Of course, I always deny doing this, and I still do it. I never try to play any sound of war, but in the same time, I cannot deny that there is a kind of latent influence in my perception of sound. So I never thought about it or studied it or whatever, but I know that when I was 20 years and I see Peter Brodsman cover Machine Gun, I like this album more than another. I want this one because I feel it's more violent and has this. So maybe this soundscapes of war that stayed with us for 15 years, from 0 to 15 years. Not maybe, for sure they have an influence, but I never make. How to say, I never try to reenact it. I never try to reproduce this sound. So the influence is here in my perception of sound, of big sound, of small sound, in my perception of silence, I think. Lately I was talking about it also, about the atrio, how busy it is and how our improv is busier than reductionist improv or lowercase improv as they used to call it. Silence for us is different. The perception of silence is viscerally different. So silence is never innocent. It's the preparation of something to come. So when there is silence, or at least in our use, and I re-experienced it in 2006, when there is silence, you are not, on the contrary of a calm country where you would feel silence means calm and means like you're relaxed. On the contrary, you are tensed because you don't know what will come next. When there are bombs, there are bombs. You are in the action. You are going to you know the bombs are coming from this side. You go to this side of the house. You go to the, if it's worse, you go to the cellar or to how do you call it? Yeah, the cellar under the building. And you are in an action. And it's the same when I was playing trumpet with the bombs. When you are in an action, you cannot be scared anymore. Like there's something bigger than scare. I guess it's survival, the survival instinct, and then you have to do something. With silence, you don't know what to expect, and you don't know when and where the first bomb will come. You know, from there, it's easy to extrapolate to our music. And I feel I'm less comfortable with silence than any of my other musicians I play with, especially German musicians, because there was this school of really big silence, or the Vienna musicians, so these two schools of improv in the late 90s were playing a lot with silence. And for me, the silence, of course, for them also, like leaving, like Radu Malfatti piece, you leave 1 minute and a half of silence, there is a tension for everybody. I feel for me, I cannot arrive to the 1 minute and a half. I have to break it with something. So this is bad, I think, for the music, but it's like it is.
Maybe that's a good point to interrupt the talk and hear a second.
And have some silence.
Have some silence for a moment and continue with another trumpet piece of yours.
Yes, maybe I'd like just to say a small word about what I will do now. So before coming here today, I knew that it's still impossible to play trumpet in this space or to play a breeze instrument. So the first piece, as you saw, I played it on the scaffolding. The second one, I'd like to play it here. So I'll try to play a piece without breathing. This involves playing with feedback and a small amp. Let's hope it'll sound nice. So yes, it is feedback, but don't be scared. It's a 3 watts amp. It cannot make any problem for your ears.
Thanks a lot, Mazen. Well, probably that was rather an abstract piece.
It was.
I don't really tend to hear stories. I'm more a musical listener. I don't know if you have stories in your mind about
No, never. I never try to tell stories. I reassure you. No, but it's curious, this thing of seeing images. I mean, I'd love to try it also. I never see images with music, but some people really see. Like it's a whole story. It's not like at some point they saw something. They tell me the whole concert, like, yeah, this happened, and then it's like telling me a dream they had or something.
But you sometimes work as a composer as well, and there's the Synesthesia Project where you do the composition and also the visuals, right? So
it's
the
not
Synesthesia
it's not a composition actually. It's a live conduction. So it's a live graphic score. So there is, I think the idea came from many places. First of all, of course, is this system I was telling you about where I can play live. So normally I do it as improvisation with Sharif and sometimes with Sharif and Tony Elie on electric bass. But here I have a small ensemble of improvisers. I mean, small or bigger, like ensemble or orchestra of improvisers. And what I do is I create a live score, a graphic score live, and so they interpret it live when I'm doing it. So it joins this thing I do with ideas like live conduction. Of course, Butch Morris comes to mind as being maybe the most invested in this system of conducting improvisation. But also not only like Butch Morris, because somehow I don't like to give a lot of clear element. So in my way of doing it, it's really the improvisers who have to interpret what I'm doing in real time. And it's not like, okay, if I do this, you do that. And if I do this, you stop. And if I do that, you enter. And you continue doing, you know, I bought this book by Butch Morris where you have all his gesture for musicians, and it's really a very complex array of gestures and signs where he can really make everybody do whatever he wants or whatever changes in real time. So for me, it's really the contrary. It's like there are very, very little, 2 or 3 things we agree on in the beginning, and even this I say to the ensemble, please feel free to change if you need. And this idea comes from another piece of work that is Treatise or Treatise by Cornelius Cardew. I don't know how you pronounce. I asked many English-speaking people. Nobody knows if it's Treatise or Treatise. But so this graphic score by Cornelius Cardew is famous for being the only, or at least the first graphic score with like, it's really a thick book of graphics with no explanation whatsoever on how to interpret this thing. And it has been interpreted by many groups. I heard it at least on 3 different recordings. I never heard it live. And each time it's with very different musicians, and it sounds, it has nothing to do. So so what I understood, I talked once with, I think it was Guillermo Gregorio who put an ensemble to play it once for Hatwood. And I was talking with him. And said, yeah, like to prepare to play it, we have to sit and then somebody, so in his case, he was the composer or he was the head of this group playing it. He has to decide how to interpret these signs. And so once you decide how to interpret them, then you can play the thing and then you can decide the time, because there's no timing also. It's really a very open thing. So my idea in synesthesia is really joining these 2 things. So give visual elements for interpretation to improvising musicians, and not. So it's not a composition in the sense where they know what to do. They are really improvising ensemble, and they have to react in real time to what I'm doing. And the way they react, I understand. Okay, this is how they reacted to this kind of thing. So from there, if I continue like this, they will do. So it's really. It's more improvised than improvisation somehow, because really it's a total, of course with improv music it is like this, like we are always influencing each other, but we are going in the same way. Here it's really you don't know if I make just one drop more here, what will happen? It might change all the thing together. So I'm on the contrary of when I'm an improviser in a group here, I have really a lot of power, but in the same time I have no power at all because I leave it really very open. We did it once live so far. We had to do it in Irtijal, the 20th anniversary. I guess we will talk about this later. So it had to happen in Beirut, but it was postponed because of the COVID situation, of the Corona crisis. But the first time we did it was with some musicians from Berlin, some from Beirut, and some from Oslo. It was in the Ultima Festival in Oslo. And it was really nice because in the beginning I sat with them and I explained to them, like, I don't know at all where I'm going, and we're going to discover it together. And after working for 2 days with them, I came up with some 2 or 3, not rules, but ideas. And again, they were free to follow them or not. And from there was, so the idea is to work prior to the performance together. And then I think it worked very well. The only other time I tried it is with the splitter orchestra, but as a rehearsal. So it wasn't with all the orchestra, it was with maybe 12, 14 persons. This was at Ausland. We had a rehearsal. I wanted to show them the system because I would love to conduct splitter playing this because it's really a fantastic orchestra of improvisers, which is rare usually. This project is somewhere. I mean, they were happy with it, so it seems we will do it one day, but it needs, of course, a lot of funding.
Yeah, sure. You were mentioning the Corona situation now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can talk about what you've been doing the last 3 months now, or 4 months. Because it was the first day that you immediately started the Corona diaries. Mm-hmm. And you also recorded a piece, I Swallowed a Modular Sync, I think in the night where the lockdown in Berlin was decided.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this one was 2 days later, but I recorded one for sure the first night. Mm-hmm. It's Feed Me Back, Please. So it was a little bit with this kind of feedback. I was beginning to play with this, but it's feedback plus trumpet, so it's a little bit mixed together. I started this Corona Diaries really the first night of the lockdown, and not knowing where I'm going, not knowing what I'm doing, but somehow I felt the urge of starting something. Exactly like in the war of 2006, where I opened a blog. I didn't even know what was a blog, but I understood directly this is the thing to do, to be able to publish in real time what I'm doing. These things happen very rarely. It's the second time it ever happens for me. I'm not at all a blogger. I do not like to do this. I like to do the stuff and work it alone and then publish it once it's ready, unless I'm doing something live. But in these situations, I feel I need direct publishing. I need to publish in the moment. I need to make diaries and to make them available. I make diaries all the time. I have a lot of notebooks filled with stuff. But here I feel I need to publish, and somehow I felt an emergency. I felt we're going to something that resembles the war, even though it's not at all the war. Of course, now I even know better. But the idea of being confined and cut from everywhere, I felt it's an extraordinary situation, and a pretty ordinary one because everybody in the world was living it. So it's extraordinary for everybody. It makes it ordinary at the end. But I opened it and not knowing where I went and where it's going. And it ended up being a place where I'm really putting everything. And it's the first time that it happens where I'm doing videos, I write text, I draw comics, I put drawings, and I put music. So it's somehow the first time I managed to put everything together in one place. Because in a book you cannot, of course. In a CD you can make some drawings, but you cannot make everything. And just having one page where I'm writing, then put the drawings, then talk about the drawing in a text, then introduce music and putting it, opened a lot of doors for me. So I'm thinking in the future to do this as a project, to do one project really done only on the internet or as an exhibition or something. For the content, however, I'm really very lost. It's so different from a war in the idea that there is no sense of urgency. in a war, there is, even though you know you're rather safe in the region where you are, and you're a little bit far away from the heart of the explosions and everything, still there is a sense of urgency, there is a sense of, even if you don't think about it, but there is an idea of like that this might be the last drawing I'm doing, I might not be able, etc. With the corona there is nothing, so we are inside, and then you look outside, it looks not peaceful as usual, it looks more peaceful than ever. There is nobody on the streets, and there is no physical danger. Of course there is the virus, but you don't feel this urgency. So I ended up doing sometimes 12 times the same drawing because the color I didn't like, or here it wasn't drawn well, etc. While in time of war, it's really like I was drawing and throwing behind me, not even thinking of if it's good or not. Also, there is a kind of revolt. You are in a kind of fight when you are in a war. Not only because you have an enemy that is clearly declared and you can point him and know who he is, even though everybody doing war is my enemy somehow, but also because of the absurdity of this thing. You don't understand where it's coming and why it's coming on you, etc. Here it's really very different. You cannot be angry at anybody. Of course, you could be angry on humanity as a whole, but it doesn't help. It's not something you can grab and say, okay, it's your fault and I'm fighting you because of this, etc. So you don't have anything to resist again. And this made it a very difficult period. I remember in the war, I was rarely depressed. I went in depression after the war for a long time. But during the 33 days, I was really in fighting mode all the time. I would sleep 2 hours, wake up, and I mean, everybody was in this mode, but most of the people were out of work because they have work. They were unemployed for a period. Here I was at home. I could do whatever I want, actually. It was somehow something I would look forward for, like to be at home, not traveling, be able to just put all my stuff, play music, draw. But this didn't work also. So every 5 or 6 days I would go in, I would be more or less prone to work, more depressed and less inspired. And now for the last 2 weeks I didn't post anything, and I don't know how to deal with this situation. Like since the confinement came back, the confinement finished, it's not finished. I know we're not finished. I feel for me it was just a dress rehearsal of what is coming next, or a dress rehearsal of the future we will live at one point. But now there is no closure, so it's not finished, but it's not there yet. Places are open, but and this is a very it's very new for me. It's a very strange situation to live in. Still, I think I produced a lot of things that I would have not done if not of this corona situation. So
actually, there was an exhibition at IFA Gallery which started right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And
it started maybe a
it
week
closed
before.
again very quickly, but it's open again.
Yes.
And it's still open until August, so
Mm-hmm.
that gives a good impression of a lot of things you've
Yes,
been working
yes.
on in visual art.
It's my first ever exhibition in solo in Berlin, my first solo exhibition, and it's been 4 years I'm trying to make it happen, and it happened really maybe 2 weeks before the confinement. But luckily, the things after it, luckily for me, not for them, got cancelled, of course, because of the corona. So now it stays until August. It was meant to finish in May. It is open for 10 people, maybe together. And then there were 3 concert programs there. They will happen again. So I'm really glad about this also.
Was it the duo series that you had planned?
It's a kind of weird trio series. It's a series where I invite one musician plus one. So the first one would be Andrew Lafkas plus one. So he is welcome to bring a guest with him, a guest musician, without telling me. And then, or the audience. So we all discover who is this guest on the day of the gig, and then we play a trio. And I like this idea. Again, it's only possible in places like Berlin, where there are so many musicians and the ones you don't know or you never played with. And it's a very nice idea to have very close collaborator choosing for you who he would like to introduce to you. And the 3 musicians I invited, so Andrew Lafkas, Ute Wasserman, and Tony Buck, the three of them say, yeah, great, oh, I have ideas. So I'm a little bit scared. I don't know what kind of ideas they have to bring. But I'm quite excited. It's really a very nice project. And I was really sad that it went with this corona, but now it's happening again. So it will happen outside with masks. Don't worry, you can come. It's good.
Yeah, and you were mentioning it already. So it's the Irtijal Festival is in the 20th year of its existence. It started in 2000 with
2001.
2001 with one evening, and it was growing bigger and bigger.
Yes, and this year was the 20th anniversary, and we were worried for this 20th anniversary already since October, because the situation in Beirut was deteriorating a lot, and in October started the revolution there. So there is an ongoing revolution, even though it got toned down by the corona. So already in October we begin to think of making a smaller version. So the first idea was to do really 2 weeks of festival with huge exhibitions, many exhibitions, and really like festivities, publishing a book, etc. In December, we already decided, and we talked to many of the foreign musicians coming and told them, you know, it might be that we cannot do it, so maybe we'll cancel these big things. But we were very keen on making it happen anyway. So just the friends from the international musician, just the friends, we told them, we said, okay, we keep it until the last minute, you come, and you know how it is, so they were okay. But people like Terry Riley was on our program, so of course we're not taking the risk of bringing Terry Riley and say, okay, sleep in my living room, Terry, it's not happening or whatever. So we decided to keep it under 5 days, maybe 4 days, only with Lebanese musicians and some of these friends and close musicians. Until the COVID happened, and so I was meant to go in April, in late March to Beirut, and 2 weeks before it started, and then we were saying, okay, maybe we can. After 10 days, we all understood it was impossible to do it. So it's postponed, and for us, it's really, really very sad, and it's very important for us to do it in 2020 because we managed not to miss any year. So even the year of the 2006 war, we did it. The year after 2007 and 2008 were really catastrophic in Lebanon, with plenty of, one of them, 1 year was more than 13 car bombs, assassination, political assassination. The other year we got a kind of small civil war. So it was really 2005 to 2008 were really very, very dark years for Lebanon. We managed still, one of the years we did one afternoon with like 6 concerts of only Lebanese people. And it drives us crazy that we were managing to do it, and so it ended up like there is something bigger than wars and catastrophes. So it was the COVID situation. And now we are really looking forward to make it happen before 2021. And in the worst case scenario where we cannot, we will try to make one in Berlin that we can speak about also. So even before the corona, we were already talking, you and me and Ausland, to do a 20th anniversary version of Irtijal Festival in Berlin at Ausland in Prenzlauer Berg. And this so far is happening. So on paper it's happening. Of course, we don't know what will happen with corona in the fall. But if everything is okay, it will be from the 3rd to the 5th of December, and it will be with 10 to 11 musicians from Beirut and 12 from Berlin. And we will joyfully mix all these people together to make new groups and new encounters. So it's really in the spirit of Irtijal, bringing it to Berlin.
Yes, I'm also really looking forward to it, and I'm really hoping that it can happen this year. It's true that we all really don't know what it's be like in December, and how good it will be to plan in advance, but we'll try. Yeah, you set the date already. 3rd till 5th December is the plan, and It's already announced on the page of Ausland already. So you can mark it in your calendar if you're interested in the Irtijal 20th anniversary festival in Berlin. Yeah, I don't know. We have really talked about a lot of things.
I told you, you have to stop.
You
have to stop.
I'm happy about all this information that you gave us. Really, I don't know if there are remarks or questions from the audience to all the things that Mazen has told us already.
Thanks for the opportunity. Because you told that you played the saxophone, then you came back to the trumpet. And sometimes I have the feeling it could also be just some other piece of brass. Are you also experimenting with other brass instruments, like trombone or flute or?
I experienced a little bit. I tried to play trombone at some point, but the problem is the mouthpiece is too big for me, so I can't. It's good that you point out. It could be really one of these clarions, these things that you have in the army with no valves. For what I do with it, it could be used also. But actually, many of the things I do involve the valves themselves, but not in what I did today. But many times I remove the valves and move them, and then let less air pass, etc. So I really take the trumpet. I mean, for me, it's very interesting that I have the trumpet. I have to deal with it, and I like with improv music. You know, people are very keen on their technique. Like, yeah, this is me. He stole it from me, and so what I do is I steal, but from double bass player or drummers, and then I adapt them to trumpet. And it's really interesting for me how to. Like, for instance, playing with a fan on a trumpet, it's impossible. While all guitar players play, you know, with these fans. And so it took me 10 years, then I find a way. I can show you later. But for me, this is what I have, and I really like, I really use all what is possible. So if I just bring it here. So everything, like these keys, for instance, this model of trumpet didn't have this key here. Which is totally okay because you can remove and remove the water, but I made it, I put it on purpose because there is some things that I do just by opening a little bit this key and sending air blocked by a valve, etc. Removing the coulisse is very important to be able to send the sound from here sometimes from there. So it's really the object itself that makes me do what I do. I couldn't do it on something else. Some things I could do on a saxophone even. Some things I could do on something with no valves, with a coulisse. But to be able to do all what I do, it's really this instrument that has. And this is why I keep, I'm really stubborn with this thing. I keep putting trumpet on my recording. I don't put trumpet and objects or prepare trumpet because for me it's this. I mean, if it wasn't that, I would play different music. Welcome.
All right, so thank you a lot for coming. Thank you very much for watching in the internet. There's really a lot of information about Mazen and his work on the internet, about a lot of things that we talked about. We also didn't talk about the label Al-Maslak. You can hear a lot of music there, which I can really recommend. And then I really hope that we can see, hopefully next year, again, also here at the exploratorium with the art trio. That's the plan,
yes.
as the next thing here. And so I say goodbye, and thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks,
Thank
Mazen.
you. Thank you.
Danke.